everyone, and thank you very much for joining us this evening once again. From all the parts where you're coming from, we are very grateful. We've been having a very varied audience that's been participating. At any point, we have 12 or 10 different countries participating, and as far, I think last week we had as far as Bangladesh. We've had people from Mexico participate, from the United States, from Europe participate. So we just want to thank all the people who've been following our series and coming to get to know about entrepreneurship, get to know about what investors are looking for, what's a sustainable business model, and how to pitch. So tonight we're very excited to be joined by Karima Khan. Thank you, Karima, for coming through. I will introduce you in detail a little bit later on. But we want to thank you. The E4Impact Innovation Boot Camps have been coming on as an effort to be able to showcase our programs. We are very passionate. Our passion is to build alliances across Africa with institutions that are passionate about entrepreneurship like we are. We're passionate to develop impact entrepreneurs that impact their communities and build strong economies and contribute to their economies and build strong economies within their communities as well as on a national level. So E4Impact Foundation has put together this innovation bootcamp series to further develop interest from entrepreneurs to come through and learn from experts and professionals and successful entrepreneurs who are in this space. So tonight we want to, before we get to our speaker whom we're excited about, is may I just take this opportunity to share a little bit on who E4Impact is. So I'll just share my screen. Right. So E4Impact is, like I said, an organization which was started by the Catholic University of Milan. We're very passionate about growing and training impact entrepreneurs who build their communities. We're passionate about partnering with organizations, companies, corporate institutions that are passionate about building their communities. So E4Impact was started by the Altis Graduate Business School, and we are currently in 20 African countries. We're building a new generation of impact entrepreneurs. I hope you can all see my screen clearly. So we would want to encourage you to network. We want to create platforms that create visibilities for the entrepreneurs who are our students in our programs that we offer. The advantages of joining the E4Impact story is that we are passionate about creating ecosystems that build entrepreneurs. We're passionate about creating platforms where they can access finance, and 2.5 million has exchanged hands and obtained by students. We have workshops, we have competitions, with pitch events. We participate in external events as well and work with external investment partners who are able to accelerate our entrepreneurs. We've got a strong alumni growing since our inception in 2010, and we have access to alumni that can help you grow your network as well and give you substantial information to be able to start your new business, which is at idea level, to be able to grow your startup and to be able to scale your business at scale. So all our programs, we are talking to entrepreneurs who are at the beginning, in the middle, and growing their enterprise. Client base, because of the impact that we've had and the footprint that we have, you have access to all the markets. We make an effort to create access to all the markets in all the countries that we are working with. We encourage our entrepreneurs or students to be able to connect with other students and market their businesses and use our platforms to market businesses, as well as to platforms in Europe and other parts of the world. Our alumni turnover has increased by 81% as our program is very practical. We're focusing on building skills. We're focusing on sharing tools that increase the revenue of enterprises. Strategic partnerships are very critical to growth. So we actually make an effort to avail strategic partners that most entrepreneurs in some levels would never have thought of accessing, but that's what we are passionate about. Our schedules are very flexible at the present moment with the advent of the pandemic. We encourage our students to come on board because we are online. So we have live and online lessons for all our MBA program. We have and our certificate program. Our Global Impact MBA program is packed with actionable tools to apply to your business, models and frameworks that allow you to build a sustainable business model, which is what we are touching on at every beginning of this series. We then allow you to experience a coaching and mentoring experience with different professionals and entrepreneurs and experts that we have, and link you to international partners and local partners and regional partners. Access to investors. We have fairs annually held within our own systems, and also Italian businesses, where we have a B2B fair of 1 week, and our students or entrepreneurs come through and they're able to meet relevant stakeholders that can build their businesses. Our programs have dual accreditation in the sense that you get accreditation through the university that you're working with in your country, and accreditation from the University of Catholic University of Milan. We're passionate about achieving gender equality and equity. So we make sure that our programs, the women in our programs, get the relevant attention that they have and encouragement to be able to shine and stand out with their businesses. We are passionate about making sure that the future generations are equipped and knowledgeable to be able to bring change to their environment. So we've, in total, 4,960 jobs have been created for people who are under 30, 2,000 plus entrepreneurs trained. And our alumni keeps growing as more editions. This year alone, we have experienced graduation of more than 10 editions from all the different countries that we're in. We are currently focusing on starting new editions as the year is coming to the middle, and we have in Ethiopia, the St. Mary's University. Please contact Mikedela. He's able to assist you in the program to join the edition that has just started. In Rwanda, we have started an edition. Benjamin is there if you want to join the next edition. In Eswatini, Sandile is waiting to talk to you in September. The new edition is starting. And in Ghana, at the University of Professional Studies, Andrews is willing to speak to you for the edition starting in October 2021. In Egypt, the mini MBA Impact Entrepreneurship, the Swedi Education Innovation Hub is ready to start in September 2021. Speak to Farida. And in South Africa, Unene at the Tshwane School for Business and Society is waiting to speak to you and share more information on the program. So we are in 20 countries, and those are some of the countries that we're in. Please go to our chat box and ask for information if you want more information of the program leaders and the business coaches of other countries that we're in. Please look for us on our social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. You'll find our details there and you can contact us. Thank you very much. And I hope soon you'll be coming through to join us on our programs. Right. Our speaker today, we're very excited. I think this is our first female speaker, so I'm particularly excited today to welcome you, Karima, and for joining us today. She is currently the Assistant Manager, Data Analysis and Marketing and in charge of Marketing and Communication at Accelerate Prosperity in Pakistan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Right, great. So just a little bit more about Karima is that she has Accelerate Prosperity is a global initiative of Aga Khan Development Network, and it works in areas of growing economic opportunities and allowing them to remain sufficient. Their mission is to create an inclusive economic growth. They aim to support, catalyze, sustain small growing businesses. And they do this through incubation and acceleration programs. Herself, she has worked for the Yukon law firm in South Korea, Legal Circle Bangladesh. She's a recipient of the Future Asian Leadership Scholarship Exchange Program at Yonsei University in South Korea. She's also a recipient of the Sung Kien Young Women's University Scholarship for an Exchange Program at the University in South Korea. She's a recipient of the Spark Hope Foundation Canada Scholarship. She holds a degree in philosophy and economics, a minor in development studies. Thank you so much, Karima. And your CV is very rich. We can't wait to hear what you have to share with us tonight. May I hand it over to you?
Thank you so much, Bertha. Is that how I pronounce your name, Bertha?
Yes, I'm also curious to know that I pronounced your name well.
No, that's all right. Karima Khan is all right. Thank
Good.
you, Bertha, for that lovely introduction. And I'm so excited to be part of this. Thank you to Mr. Frank Sinke. I had the pleasure to be working with him, on a couple of occasions. So I also have a little bit idea about E4Impact Foundation and the kind of work that you do. It is tremendously amazing, and I feel so proud to be a little part of it. A little part of the journey. So I think I should share my screen and then let's start, if that's all right with you.
That's fine. Great.
Okay. Bertha, before we start, may I know that, are we having entrepreneurs in the ideation stage or acceleration stage?
So we have all in three stages. We have at idea stage, at startup stage, and we also have at growth stage. So we usually encourage our entrepreneurs at any stage to join the program.
Okay, no, today's, the audience, I mean to say, are
Yes,
they
yes,
startups?
yes.
Okay, perfect. So, am I audible?
Yes, very audible.
Okay, so today let's talk about what investors are looking for, and what is the investment criteria. So I'll be mainly speaking from my own experiences. So let's start. Hello, this is me, Karima Khan, and thank you for joining us today. Before we understand, what are the investment criteria, we should know that what types of investors there are in the market. Uh, there are so many investors, but today I would like to speak about three main types. That is commercial investors and their venture capitalists. These type of investors mainly focus on the growth potential and on the return. So they would be mainly focused on if your business you're able to return the money that they're investing in your business or not. Then there are impact investors or angel investors. These type of investors, of course, they also care about the growth potential of a business, but they also focus mainly on if you're solving any issue. So what problem are you solving? What is your value proposition? And then how are you contributing to the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals? And then the third one is institutional investors. They are kind of hybrid. They care about what impact you are creating and also your growth potential. And then there are accelerators and incubators. There are institutional investors who are also accelerators and incubators, but that is not the case all the time. So there is something common in all these three types of investors and all the other types of investors too, which we did not talk about today. Uh, what they look for in a business is the value proposition. So let's talk about what value proposition is. Value proposition mainly means, what makes your product, your business, or your service unique, how that is different, and what value are you adding. That can be, for example, if there is a product that you're making, but then there's also another business which is making similar product. So then you have to think about how do you differentiate your product with your competitor's product. Let's say there's a cafe. In the cafe, you also have a coffee, and the other business is also selling coffee. Since the products are the same, now you have to think that how do you bring uniqueness to that. Then you can the newness can be the way you present it, or the kind of cups you will use, or the kind of ambience that you will give. That can be on the price, how different is your pricing from the other company, and how accessible is your cafe from the another cafe, and how convenient it is, how convenient it is to come to your cafe and then have a cup of coffee there, or if it is a product, how convenient it is to use your product, how easy it is, the usability, how it is targeting all kinds of people. Let's say if there is a person living with disabilities, how convenient it is for that person to reach to your cafe, or if there is a person who doesn't has a car, so how convenient it is to reach your cafe. If you keep in mind all these things, that's when you can add a value. And that is what would make your business different from others. And that's what you can pitch to your investor. That is your value proposition, your uniqueness, and what problem are you solving. Number second can be, most investors look for is the market and growth potential. What that means is that, how clear and big market size is of your business, and what is the customer base. That can be what is your total available market, you should know about that, and what is your serviceable addressable market, and then what is your serviceable obtainable market. Let's say, again, I would go with the business of, let's say, a water bottle. So if your company is making water bottles, now you should know as a business person, as a business owner, that how many people are living in that geography where your business is. So first, that's what you should know. That will be your total available market. And then comes your serviceable addressable market. Out of that population, how many people can afford to buy that water bottle? That you should know. And then you should also know your competitors. Let's say if there are other, 5 other water bottle making companies, if they take an chunk of, an amount of these customers from you, how many are left for you? Because you should also know that, because you have to sell it to someone, and you need a market for that. For that, you need to have a market analysis. You need to understand your market potential, because that will decide the scalability and growth of your business. Let's say if you're making this water bottle in an area where are only 500 households, then that won't be profitable unless you are selling it on, on eBay or on, other e-commerce platforms. So that's what you really need to know: your market size, your customer base, who your customer is, and what are their needs, so that you can make a product that is, that is similar to their needs. Then comes, strength of the team. When it comes to startups, 70% of the time, an investor will invest in the team than the idea, because at initial stage, it's all up to the team. If you have a brilliant idea, but you don't have the right team, you won't be successful. If you have a normal idea, not that genius, but then if you have the right team, you can make that idea genius just by having the right, team. So coming to the team, it is very important that your team members have clear vision, and they should have the strategy about executing the business idea that you are pitching to an investor. And also, they need to have some relevant experience and subject matter knowledge. For example, if you are running a tech startup, your team member must have tech knowledge. Otherwise, you cannot run a business. So an investor will never invest in your business if they don't see the relevant kind of people there. Sometimes one person can have a very clear vision, but they would not be good enough to execute that, which is why you need to have a person with a visionary person in your team, and also a doer, a go-getter person who must execute on that vision, and also leadership qualities. we need to have that in the team, and that street smartness and resilience. Oftentimes what happens with startups is that when they're working, if they work in isolation, if they're not street smart, they think they know what the market need is, but then actually they're working in isolation. So which is why they have to get out in the market. They need to talk to people. They need to do some market analysis so that they know what the actual need is. Sometimes what happens is a business starts with one idea, but that changes after they have done their market research. So that is possible, which is why that person, the business owner or the entrepreneur, they need to also be humble enough to have this courage to unlearn and relearn so that they can execute properly. And as I said, they need to have that market knowledge, because without that you cannot connect to their level. You will not know what that specific group of people that you're targeting need. So these were the main criterias that an investor is looking for. So let's say that you understand all of these and you have all of these. Now, when you're going to meet an investor, sometimes what happens is that you have all the background research, you have all the knowledge about the market, you have the team, you know what problem you are solving. But then when it comes to pitch or pitch decks or pitch making, uh, some entrepreneurs do not get through this phase or process. So let's talk about how to pitch. Unless there are some questions, Bertha, do you want to take any questions about the investment criteria before we move on to the pitch? Hello, Bertha.
Hello, great. Thank you very much.
Okay. No, I'm not done. I was just asking if there are any questions that you would like me to engage, or you would like me to move towards the pitch making.
Oh, okay. We will, if when you're done with your presentation, then we can answer questions.
Okay, okay,
Go
perfect,
ahead.
perfect.
Go ahead.
I just
Yes.
thought that, it's just through one way and I'm just talking and talking, so I did not want it to be like
Okay.
that.
All right. We'll use the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes for questions.
Okay, so I think I
Thank you.
have some 15 minutes.
Yes.
So let's talk about pitch. So why do we pitch? We mostly pitch because we want to build the case to raise funds, because we want to, grow as a business, and we want to capture that opportunity, uh, to interact with different investors. Because when you are getting any financing from any investor, that is not only generating value or adding value to your own business, but also to the investors. Because if you run a successful business, that can also add value to the investor. So it is both ways. So they're not just being nice to you. They see potential in you. That's when they will invest in your business. So okay, sorry about that. So when you are pitching in front of an investor, what I have seen from my experience at working at State Prosperity Pakistan is that often businesses think that they will get a second chance. They would, come unprepared, or you would also see, businesses pitching at other incubators or accelerators or in other platforms, that they won't be enough prepared. So we should know that we don't get second chance to make first good impression. The only chance to make first good impression is at that particular first opportunity that you get to pitch in front of an investor. So whether you're writing an email to an investor, or you are just sending a WhatsApp text message, or you are just having a call with an investor, or you're presenting in an interview or in other, platforms, always be prepared. Go prepared. Know your numbers. Know your team. You should focus on the business case. You can only focus on the business case if you know your value proposition, if you know your market. That's when you can do that. And an investor doesn't understand all the business or all the operations of a business. For example, if I'm an investor, I would not know, how is this person making this computer, let's say. I would not know that, right? So if you are coming to me to ask for financing, you should only provide me with the key and strong information and data that you have, and make it very easy for me to understand. If you make it very complicated, if you use, let's say, if you use tech jargons or AI jargons, then I would not understand it. Then I will lose an interest. If I lose an interest, if you make it hard for me to understand, I won't even listen to you. If I don't listen to you, I would never invest in you. So when you're pitching in front of an investor, whether that is an institution, government, to your family members, because your family members can also be your investor, or your friends, or anyone, make it simple for them. Don't assume that they know what you know. It is your field as a tech startup, or as a person who is building some machines, or making some other products that they would not know. So make it easy for them to understand, and make it short and precise and to the point. If you really just jump here and there, then again they will not get the gist of it. They will not understand the essence of it. So whatever you talk about during one pitch, it should be related to your business. It should be short and concise. And most of all, what happens is, for example, you're a jolly person. You don't have to act very serious. That doesn't mean that you have to laugh all the time, but then you have to never lose your individuality. Be yourself, the kind of person you are. Be yourself, and then they're also human beings. Don't just talk as if you're talking to a machine. Relate to them through some storytelling. Also, if you're telling one line storytelling, but make sure when you're pitching, you tell about your value proposition, you talk about your market, talk about the strength of your team and their relevant previous experiences, and talk about the market opportunity. In this way, you are telling those investors that you know what you're doing, you know your market, you know the kind of people who will be your customer segments. And also, you should mention, first problem identification, and then mention that how are you solving that problem. That will be really good. And these are if you're a startup, because if an investor is investing in a startup, they mainly focus on the team, the market opportunity, the problem identification, because you won't have numbers, right, if you are just a startup. But if you are an existing business and then you're pitching in front of an investor, what they mainly look for is your business operation. And I'm repeating, in case of startup, they look at the team, because the team will make that idea successful. But if you're already a small or growing business, an existing business, so at that time, an investor will look at your business operations, how streamlined it is, and your record keeping. How do you know your numbers? Your financial projections, and then your financial numbers. Are you so what is coming and what is going? In your company, how much money are you spending and how much money are you getting? And everything should be, properly recorded. You should know who is your governance, and everything should be defined in that company. And also your revenues. An investor will look at your revenue, your previous revenues, and also in the financial projections, they will also look at, how much potential you have. So you need to give numbers, imaginary numbers, that if this year I had, let's say, 1 million revenue, in the coming year, based on your previous year, there will be 20 or 30% growth. Then how much revenue will you get? So you need to tell these things to the investor so that they know what they're getting into, what kind of business they're investing in. And also, it is very important that you tell them, they also look at, what your current geography is, where you are selling that service or product, and what future geographies are you targeting, and what is your execution plan for that? How are you going to do that? So you need to, clearly define these things, and that is when you should go and pitch in front of an investor. Um, and again, the way you dress up, we often take it very lightly, but it tells a lot about you, because different, investors prefer different thing. But we know that majority of the times they prefer that you're prepared, you know what you're doing, you're confident, and then at the same time you are taking it seriously. That can be shown you're on time, you're prepared, and you're well dressed. um, okay, I would also finally like to talk about, what usually investors look for is also how passionate you are as an entrepreneur, and then how, how much is your skin in the game. This phrase is used a lot in, in this sector. This mainly means that, okay, how much you have already invested and how much are you willing to invest in your business. Because if you don't, if you don't believe yourself enough to invest in your own business, how can you expect from a third person, an investor, to trust you enough to invest in your business? So that means that, if you are going to pitch in front of an investor, make sure that you tell them that you are serious about it. You can show that by, number one, being a passionate entrepreneur, how much time you're giving to your business, and how much you have invested, and how much are you ready to reinvest. So let's say that you are not, you are from a lower middle class, but then even then, you must have, and then you will have, other ways to invest in your business. You can ask your family or your, your relatives, and then, so do, be ready to answer these questions, because if you have already pitched in front of other investors, you must know that they ask this question: how much are you putting in? So this is for them to know how serious you are with your own idea. Because if your skin is not in the game, how can you take care of others' money? Because if you're using others' money to run a business, then you might take it lightly. But if your own money is on the line, then you will work triple hard, to make your idea work. Thank you so much. If there are any questions or any confusion, please let me know. Thank you, Bartha.
Thank you very much. I doubt if there's any confusion, and thank you so much for your very insightful and very clear, straightforward. I love the presentation, and I love the different the stages that you explained. Thank you very much. I'm looking for questions. Do we have any questions? Guys, if you have any questions for Karima, please put them in the chat box. Maybe the first question that I could ask you is, startups tend to maybe, I believe they actually cannot find, where would they be able to find information on the fund size of the investor? Because sometimes we then make a mistake, we go and we pitch, and then when we are asked for our ask, we say something that totally puts off. Where would I find information on the size of the fund, or how do I go about that?
Sorry, Bertha. So is your question, how does an entrepreneur know how much to ask? Is that your
Yes,
question?
yes. And where would it be easier to know, for example, a guide of the kind of funding that you're looking for and the kind of investors that would be willing to give you that kind of funding?
Okay, I think you should first know your own numbers. That's where I said, record keeping, formalizing, that really helps. So if you have records, if you know your, again, market size, and if you know your total addressable market, and if you know your revenue, and then if you know all of these things, you would know how much to ask for, how much capacity your business has, to take that money. Because oftentimes this is not a grant or a fund, right? You take the money and you use it the way you want. This is the kind of money that sometimes, if it's the patient financing, that you have to repay it back. So that is where you should understand your capacity. How much can you digest as a business? That you can know if you know your numbers, if you know your market. So if you know these two things, that you will know how much to ask for. But oftentimes, what happens is that, in my own experience, businesses would come to you and then they will ask for, let's say, 10 million. But then after the due diligence, or after you going through their, information memorandum and financial model, you would understand that this business doesn't have the capacity to have this much. So they end up getting, half of what they have asked for.
Mm, mm.
So yeah,
Thank you.
that's where the negotiation comes in, with the investor. It's not a one-time meeting.
Mhm.
You re-engage with them and you negotiate on the numbers.
Great. Thank you, guys. Coffee says excellent presentation. And we have a question from June who says, how does a startup at ideation phase protect themselves before they embark on pitching to potential investors? I think this is something most startups are worried about when they worry about their ideas being stolen.
Or protect themselves.
Mm.
So if you, so does this mean, it's talking about patent and all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I think there are two ways. Number one would be, if you are in any incubation center, first I would suggest you that you talk to your mentors there, because in an incubation center, they give you business coaches, and then they are available to you. That is number one. And then number second would be, if you are just giving any services, so it is very hard for others to steal your idea, even if they do. Let's say I give example of a cafe, right? Even if someone steals that idea from you, or that water bottle, or you're making a chair or any furniture, even if someone starts making a furniture, they can't make it the way you do, because you will have, as I mentioned there, right, how to make it unique. You will have your own pricing strategy. You will have your own materials that you will be using. You will have your own way of building it that no one else can know. So that is like, it's very, even I know that entrepreneurs are very they are very keen, so that about their ideas, that they will be stolen. But I think that is not always the case. Even if someone steals your idea of making a clothes, but then they cannot make it the way you do, still your one will be different, based on all the things I mentioned before. Number third can be patent. That is, I would highly suggest, if you're making a product, or if you're, let's say, making a drone, or you're making any other equipment that requires patent, I would highly suggest you to go for that. If you think that your idea can be stealed, so patent would be the answer.
Great, thank you. And I would encourage the entrepreneurs to make sure that you join ARIPO, the Intellectual Property Organization, which actually makes an effort to give these services for very reasonable prices, or else approach a lawyer who has experience in, or a consultant who has experience in intellectual property. But thank you for that feedback, Karima. Our next question is, how measurable is street smart in market analysis? How measurable is street smart in market analysis?
So is that for investors, right?
Yes, you're presenting your market analysis and the trends, and you're basing it on street smart, but how do you make it credible for the investor, the information?
Usually, I think when you are pitching in front of an investor and you're talking about your value proposition and you're talking about your market size, the total addressable obtainable market, when you're talking about that, if you go into specificities, that's when an investor will know that you are street smart or not. That comes from your market analysis. Let me give you an example. uh, we talked about that, right? Value proposition means that the kind of problem that you are solving. So if you know that there is certain problems in a certain community or in the world, that means that you know something about your market, right? If you become specific about it, and if you talk about your customer segment, which groups are you targeting specifically? And then if you talk about, let's say you're giving example of, uh, let's go again with the cafe. You are saying that one coffee will cost $4 in your cafe. If you tell this to present investor, and you tell them that there are over 3 million office going professionals in South Africa. If you tell this, it means you have done your research, and then you are telling them that there are 1000 cafes that are in South Africa. So your total addressable market will be that 3 million professionals, because kids cannot afford that coffee and old people might not be able to afford that. So mostly who go to cafes? That is people who are doing jobs for meetups, after office, during office, for meetings, etc. Right? So when you talk about that, the total addressable market, and then you tell about that, that there are 1,000 other cafes in that region, and then you tell specifically how different your cafe is from all the other cafes. What makes your one unique? And how much let's say you're giving ambience to someone, let's say you're making it more family friendly, then you can tell that you're making it family friendly because this problem exists, not many cafes offer this is how an investor can measure if you're street smart or not.
Thank you very much. Our next question is, do I need to register my business or startup to join an incubator or accelerator? Can I give you another question? I think that one will be quite straightforward. And then highlight on the process of developing a strong and visionary team. So do I need to register my business to join an incubator or an accelerator? Maybe on that question, Karima, can you just explain to us the difference between an incubator and an accelerator?
Okay, so an incubator, if you are at ideation stage or before you're making any revenues, if you want, it's an institution that keeps you, and then they give you mentorship program, they give you access to an office area sometimes, and then they give you an opportunity uh, to meet other investors, and then they will also sometimes help you with your business model canvas, with your information memorandum or financial modeling. So that's basically what an incubator does. For accelerator, they will mostly work towards accelerating your business. So you already have a business that is generating revenue. Now how do you accelerate it? So then that can be maybe, helping you to reach another market. That can be investing in you. It can last for many years. For example, one incubation center can incubate you for over 3 to 5 years or 1 to 5 years, and they might finance you after 5 years when they think you're investment ready. And how do you become investment ready? That is, again, as I said, when you know the market, when you have the team, when you understand, when you have clear value proposition, that's when they will invest in you. Before that, they will just give you mentorship program, they will give you other opportunities, they will help you with your pitch decks in pitch making. But if you are an accelerator, you would just give maybe technical assistance and advisory on how to accelerate further the business, and then you will give financing. And then it depends on different institutions, accelerator programs. With Accelerate Prosperity Pakistan, we do patient financing, but others might do equity based. Then there might be other, forms of investment too. So if you are, if you want to be part of any incubation center, you don't need to register your business before that. But that is part of the incubation center, like being in that incubation center, that they will help you register your business, and they will help you with the documentation of that. But for to be a part of an accelerator program, you need, because this is for existing businesses, you need to be record keeping, you need to know your numbers, revenue generated already, registered, so whatever works in your own country, all the laws and everything, and that has to be done. Highlight on process of developing a strong and visionary team. Know the strength of your team. If you are, again, coming back to the cafe, I love food, I'm a foodie person, so I'm taking example of, cafe a lot. So if you want to have a cafe, you need to have a cook, you need to have a person who is good with finances, you need to have a person who is good with management and leadership skills. You need to have a person, who is good with designing, interior designing, especially, so that, can look after the ambience. Or if you're having only two founders, or 2 to 3 people in your team, then you need to have someone who understands finances, who understands marketing and communications, who have leadership qualities and management skills. But then if you are running a tech startup, you might need to have a developer, a person who is specialized in computer science, graduate. You might need a person who is good with designing, expert. And that really depends on the kind of business that you're having. You need to have subject matter expert. That's how you can build that. uh, how can a startup do this thing is, um, Estivao, okay, can you read the other
All right.
questions?
So the next one is wait. So now we want to talk about team. Another question on teams. Yeah, teams. And how can a startup prove that its team is valuable for the investors? They don't know them. Are CVs enough to convince the investors, or there are ways we can convince them? I think that will team up with the question on the process of developing a strong visionary team.
Um, an investor never has time to go through your CVs, and we all know that. They cannot do that. They won't have time to go through all your, documents, even business documents, unless you move to, after the pitch making, if they're impressed, and then you're doing a due diligence. That's when, yes, they might look at all your profiles in details. But before that, you will only get either 3 minutes for your pitch or 5 minutes. In that 3 to 5 minutes for your team members to introduce them, you will get less than a minute. So now you need to convince an investor that your business is worthy enough to invest, because you get a strong team. If you're a startup especially, know your business idea. If you know your business idea, you will know that what are the needs to run that business, right? As I said, coming back to my own example, if you are running a cafe, so you should tell them that you have a cook, maybe who has previously worked in this big hotel or in this big restaurant, or has this many years of experience, or if they make food and then upload on YouTube or on Instagram, you can tell that they have this many followers on Instagram, because it's social media era today. So you can tell that, and then for a person you can just tell that another team member, she or he has an experience of working with different financial institutions in this big role for this many years. So if this is how you should present your team, one line, strong one, tell them your team strength. So that is where I think that will get convinced.
Great. Thank you so much. Our time has run out. I think we've exhausted also our questions from our audience. Maybe just one or two from your experience working with an accelerator, and maybe just one or two tips on how to get our entrepreneurs on point from your experience and from the many pitches I'm sure that you've listened to, and then we can round it off.
Have it itself, it shows your leadership qualities if you choose the right team. So I think that in itself is the biggest step towards making your dream of starting a business come true. So choose the right team, and all your team members should not have the same qualities. If everyone is a tech giant, if everyone is good with financials, then you don't have a good team. Everyone should be different, and they should bring different qualities or different skills to the table. So number one, choose the right team. Number second is have market, know your market, understand your customers and their needs. Sometimes everything is in our head, right? As especially youth, we think that we know what people need, but actually that's not the case. So be humble enough to unlearn and relearn. That was my second. Third would be your communications and marketing skills. How you market yourself, your business, your team, your idea, that can get you investors, especially at ideation stage, especially at if you're a startup, because at that time you don't have revenues to show, you don't have like big numbers to show, you don't have like big records to show. That's when you only have your communication and marketing skills. Use them for your own benefit and then get what you want. And if you fail one time, don't be disappointed. Sometimes incubators and accelerators, they will keep you in their loop as a pipeline business for years and years, and then they will judge your behavior, and then the way you are taking your business seriously, and they might invest in your business after many years down the line. So if they don't invest in you in the first meeting, don't stay cut off from them, don't lose hope, because if you are good enough, anyone would like to invest, because they want businesses to invest in, right? So it's kind of give and take. So you want them and they want you. Be good enough to be wanted by them.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for taking the time up to come and speak to us. And I think I asked the last question on pitching because that's our next webinar that we're having next week, Tuesday. Join us again, 6 to 7. We want to now know, we've been taught how to prepare, how to present a good sustainable business model. We've spoken to Karima and she's showed us how to what are the issues and what criteria that the investors are looking for. So now next week, we learn how to pitch to investors. So I hope you'll join us. To those who've been joining us every week, we want to thank you for joining us. Karima, all the way from Pakistan, thank you so much for coming through this evening. And thank you for a very insightful presentation. I want to just specifically highlight, I personally like what you brought out of the value proposition. make sure that it makes you different, provide an offering with a newness, performance, customization, price, accountability, convenience, and usability. So in those words, I want to thank you for coming through to impact our entrepreneurs and our students across Africa. Everybody, please stay safe and have a very good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
It
once
was an
again,
honor. Thank you for honoring me. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Please go to our social media platforms. We are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. You get more information. The presentation, if you go to your chat, the link to our YouTube channel has been put up. So in a few days, the presentation will be up. The whole webinar will be up. So go there and have a look. And like I said, if you are in your country and you want to contact a program leader for our MBA in entrepreneurship or a certificate in entrepreneurship, please don't hesitate to contact us for more information. Good night, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.